That is great.
Hi, I'm attorney Vince Davis, and this
Well,
is
good evening, Mr. Davis.
How to Fight CPS and Win. I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Deidre Payne from Orange County, California. Ms. Payne, how are you this evening?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. And from all the way across the country, we have Mr. Darren Guy, all the way from the state of Maine, and the host of CPS, the new CPS Father Show. What's the title of that show, Mr. Guy?
That's CPS Men in the Trenches.
Move your lips, Guy. Move your lips.
I watched one of the episodes. I was very impressed, you and your co-host.
Thank you.
So what's going on?
And your co-host is who?
And then we got Mr. Mike Bartz coming live from North Carolina. The Brick Man. There he is. Mike's hitting the bricks.
I'm hitting the bricks. I'm not allowed to be in Deidre's house.
No,
I'm having such bad internet connection though, but I don't know what's going on, so I might be delayed. I don't know. I'm in the same house, same internet. Who knows? That's just the story of my life, right?
Are you having trouble with your makeup today? Because it looks kind of streaky on
Shush!
the side.
I have no makeup on, so shush. You're lucky if I'm even here right now.
Oh, we're lucky. Hey, Mike, it's nice to see
My face.
Yeah, good seeing you guys. I think this is the first time I've been on without.
Did you see Deidre's show this morning?
I didn't watch it.
It wasn't on today.
Oh, you don't? Oh, that's right. You do it Thursdays, right?
Yeah, nobody was there yesterday for me.
I watched it yesterday.
Yesterday, you were on my show with me? No.
I wasn't on your show with you, but I watched it.
But you weren't commenting. I only had one sole person commenting.
Oh, man.
Do we have a guest tonight?
So listen, so tonight Mr. Davis is taking a break from all the rigmarole, and I think he's doing some sort of
for this hurricane
lawyer project, right? I think is what he was doing. So you got us tonight. If there's any of you out there that want to join us on the show, email Grace. It's grace@vincentwdavis.com. You guys could join us on the show. If you got questions, go ahead and post them in the chat, and we'll do what we can do with it. But, I mean, this is what we've got tonight for the secret. And we're just going to go with what we can do, and we do best. And that's going to be talk CPS or anti-CPS, if you will.
Anti-CPS. There you go.
You know, Mikey and I were talking earlier on our show. I don't know if anybody knows this or not, but did you know that there's a child a minute taken into custody of Child Protective Services? And that just shows how it has no boundaries, that there's no one safe in this country with Child Protective Services looming there. And they will grab you for the smallest little things, you know, and these are the things that we always talk about with Mr. Davis. You got to pay attention to these things, you know, and that's why I've been emphasizing so much lately about the beginning of all of this. You know, like when they come to your house, keep the door shut, call your lawyer. I mean, that's just it. If there's not any rules that you can follow more than that, it's just make sure you don't give them the opportunity to come inside and get access to your house or your belongings. Because, man, once they're in there and they got eyes on what you've got, their eyes on the prize, and that's the little kid, and they're very good at that. You know, I came up with these other stats last week that hi Karma, doggy. I came up with these stats last week that out of 500,000 TPRs, only 71,000 of those will end up back with reunification. That's the statistics that goes with that. So you have a very, very small chance once CPS gets their hands on your children to get them back. And that's why it's very important to follow the steps that we talk about with Mr. Davis and everything, and to be sure that you do these things, because once CPS gets your children, I'm sorry, people, your chances of getting them back are very slim to none.
How can we fight these guys, Darren? I mean, how do we stop them from doing this?
You know, that's what we're trying to do. You know, like this is what we're trying to do with Mr. Davis. The quickest route to this is getting the people the awareness. You know, like I'm a big advocate on the education and the awareness of what CPS really is and who they are and what they're doing. because we don't have enough of a following yet that people consider this a real issue in this country. You know, people don't understand that these kids are literally being kidnapped. You know, I mean, Mike, think about it. This afternoon, when I asked you, when I asked Mike this afternoon how many kids he thought was in custody, he said 10,000.
No way, way 10,000. More, way more.
But I know, but this is the average American person has no idea.
No, yeah, I know what you mean. Just like you said before,
is that the
Darren.
fireplace talking? Is that the fireplace talking?
Listen to that wall talk over there.
Don't give me a hard time.
Well, turn off your background.
Okay, then I'll turn off my background.
Yeah, if you don't have that big enough computer thing, it'll kill your internet running those backgrounds. But you know, and that 500,000 number is the only number that we see as the public. You know, there's a heck of a lot more than that. I mean, there's that new movie out, The Sound of Freedom, that kind of is hinting on the lines of human trafficking. Did you know that 80% of the children that come into human trafficking in the United States come from CPS services?
80%?
I would have thought it would have been more.
Yep, 80%.
That's insane.
So what 80%. I was going to say a second ago, Darren, is the fact that just like me and you always say, until we actually became involved in a case of our own, we both admit that we were just as naive and, you know, guilty as saying, you know, if I didn't know about CPS and I found out my neighbor got their kids taken, I would have thought the same thing, like, oh, well, they must have done something wrong in order for them to get their kids removed, you know, and that's just what I think normal, everyday people think until they actually come across either, unfortunately, a story of their own or somebody close to them and really see exactly what this corruption is all about. And that's kind of like the main reason why I continue to try and do the show or be involved with this, is because, like you and Mike both said, the more and more we just keep getting this out there. Social media is what drives, I feel like, our world today. And so it has to eventually do something, I would assume, by us doing this. And hopefully, like you said, the movie now. And I just think that the obvious is, how are we going to actually get it like to stop and shut down? That's the big thing.
I've been a big proponent of CPS for a long time. I mean, I've known about their evilness for a long time now. And I mean, how did you find out? I actually tripped upon, I'm a big YouTube guy. I love YouTube. And I tripped across a couple of YouTube videos where, you know, CPS was, you know, showing their butts. And these guys were, you know, posting how to stop them. So I knew all about them. The bad thing was, regardless of how much I warned my wife, she didn't pay attention to it. And she ended up getting them involved. I mean, she didn't know any better, and her family didn't know any better. I didn't educate them enough. So that was my fault. You know, so that's even more.
Played a trick. They were mad at you, so they called CPS on you, right?
Well, they didn't call CPS on me. CPS responded to a domestic violence, a 50B, or a protection order.
Yeah.
You know, so they responded to that without ever talking to me about the allegations or going over the allegations with me. But long story short, I mean, I knew about them, but they got involved, and they basically ramrodded my wife into signing paperwork and her family into signing paperwork. I mean, they didn't know any better. They were just good old country folks. They didn't know any better, you know.
Thinking that the government's there to help them and protect them.
Sure.
Yeah, but then see, my biggest thing with your story, just like everyone else's, is the second that you told me that your case was basically dropped, no domestic violence, and then they found out, okay, well, now your wife technically disobeyed the safety plan. That's why they took your child. Well, then they should have realized that basically you no longer had a case and you should have gotten your child then. You know what I mean?
I
but
agree.
Of course,
I agree 100% because I mean, I got an email from my wife saying that, the only reason why she filed the protection order was because she was mad and angry at me. And I was willing to show them that, but they didn't want to listen to it. And I got, people drop domestic violence charges and 50Bs all the time. It doesn't mean that it didn't happen.
And what happens is too, is the state already has picked it up, so it's too late. You know what I mean? And that's
look at Darren. At the end of the day, they dropped everything against you, Darren, right?
Yeah, I had 17 felony charges against me.
Well, but
17
And like
the
what,
state
the
brought
day
them
of?
in against me as
right
well.
up to armed robbery, you know, and everything was dismissed. It was all wrong. Everything about it was wrong. And that's what they based all of their coming after me about. And the state had to dismiss it, every bit of it. And dismissed isn't a not guilty. Dismissed means that they don't have the evidence that they need because there is no evidence to take the case. So, you know, like, why am I TPR? Why is my daughter still gone?
And isn't the social worker the one that had to tell you that, like you said the other day?
What's that?
Didn't you say the other day on the show with Mr. Davis that, or by yourself, that it was your social worker that actually had to get up there and actually tell you that basically
No, it was the
it's all
judge.
gone?
It was the same. It was the judge that TPR'd me that got to dismiss my charges. And she tried to get on the bench and recuse herself. And
Yeah,
I said,
that's who it was.
absolutely
Okay,
not.
yeah.
I said, no way. You just TPR'd me, and she found me guilty. And that's what the TPR had led to. She said that I was guilty on all my charges. And then the state dismissed my charges, and she had to sit up there and look in my eyes and tell me all the charges to be dismissed.
But you're still TPR, yeah.
But I'm still TPR'd, correct.
Your appeal right there should have been strong enough for that reason alone.
Yeah, they don't care.
Now, in my case, they dismissed the domestic violence against me because I had traumatic brain injury, and that's what they used.
Yeah, because it was that, right?
And then the 50B was dropped because my wife and I went to the mall. She didn't even go to the court hearing. She just blew it off. So they dropped, that's immediately killed if you don't go to the court hearing. And it wasn't like I made her take me to the mall. She called me and said, "Come on, me and your daughter are going to the mall. You want to go?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And so of course they dropped the 50B. So at that point they had nothing. They didn't have domestic violence. They didn't have a 50B or anything against me. They did it because my wife left her mother's house. Her mother's house without notifying them, which is absolutely ridiculous. She's a grown woman. She can do what she wants, when she wants, and how she wants. But because of the safety plan.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's the safety plan.
And that's the thing. What do you do if your child was molested by CPS?
Same thing mine. I got mine substantiated.
Right, but what do you do? Because the thing is you're already fighting a fight, right? And then you're going to go and then you're trying to fight, like when you find out, because you know what? There's a lot of this abuse in these foster homes. There's a lot of good in the foster homes too, but there's a lot of abuse that goes on in these foster homes because all these people are the money. And since CPS now requires you to be a licensed foster home, we're seeing more and more of this, right? But what do? You know what the question is? I don't have an answer. I
have the answer Mr. Davis told me.
And what was that?
Too bad. So sad.
No, he said report it to he said report it and have it investigated by the national DHS office, DHS office. Report it to them and they'll investigate it.
Right. So, but here's the thing. What do you do as a parent? Like, how do you handle that situation as you being the parent and you find out that your kid's being molested at a DHA, it's at a foster home? Like, wait a minute, they take your kid from you. Your kid is supposed to be safe in their presence, in their custody. You know, these are all things. So who's holding these people accountable for their flaws? Like, they've taken a kid from a completely safe situation and put them into danger. So where's the responsibility there? They hide under this immunity and all this other crap. But no. They shouldn't be able to get away with this stuff.
Yeah, they hide behind.
And then the children, they try to the children, they try and corner them and make them start. If you do say something, then you won't go home and you won't go here. You'll go even somewhere worse. And then they start, threatening these poor kids. So then they can't even speak out and try and get the help themselves. Mm-hmm. Mike, I don't think you're supposed to do that on the show.
I didn't do nothing. Picking my
No, but that's just the thing, man. What do you do? No one has the correct answer for that. Because what do you want to do as a parent? I know what the answer is for that.
Get them and run. Go get them and run.
So what do we do? Seriously, no one has these answers. We are in uncharted waters because we are allowing our children to be legally kidnapped in this country. I mean, you have Connie Reguli that's out there fighting. No, Aaron Carranza, all these people are out there. People like me and Deidre and Mike, and like there's a bunch of us and Miss G, and a bunch of us that are out there trying to fight this stuff. But what can we really do? Like we don't have handcuffs, we don't have badges, we don't have authority. So we need to figure out a way to get that authority, or we need to be the authority.
Our militia.
For real. Like that's just what can we do? This person, my kid, Suzanne says, my kid watched so much porn on the watch of CPS, then got involved in sexting scandal with a U.S. Marine. They're sweeping under the rug. Of course they are, because they don't want anybody to know that within their custody, they're allowing and providing the places for these people to.
Darren, like the other night when Melissa was on, remember her daughter that's pregnant?
Yep.
And she's in the custody of CPS technically, and she was underage. And now it's like all of a sudden it's like they don't even want to like find out who the father is basically. And then it was a family member. Remember, should have said it was like a distant family member too.
Yep.
And I was just like, wow. Yep.
It's disgusting. And you know what? No one is holding them accountable. And you know why? Because the one thing in this country that you can do to everybody to shut their mouths is mess with their kids. No one wants their kids messed with. And this government entity is so freaking powerful that they stop at nothing. They will destroy whomever, whenever they want. I mean, they're the basis of our economy, for God's sakes. Look at your states books in their open checkbooks and stuff, and look at the amount of federal funds that Title 4E puts into your states.
But the sick part of it all is your CPS's whole overall thing is to try and protect children and save them out of abusive situations, when in reality all they're doing is taking innocent kids and putting them in these horrific situations. Like they're doing the complete opposite of what they're supposed to be doing.
I'm doing that. Sorry, I'm doing that for Suzanne. What you're asking them for, it doesn't matter what they will do for you. It's just disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And until we can get politicians in there to make the difference and make things work out, then no one's going to do anything. Because what people don't understand, like Mr. Davis already says, everybody's looking at these statutes and common law and all this stuff. Well, a lot of this stuff has already been passed and put into place as laws. You see, that 4E funding is meant for reunification purposes, not to keep your kid away. But they figured out a way that they flipped the script, and they figured out how they will make the money now instead of the money going towards reunification. And it's terrible. It's absolutely disgusting.
Who was it that made that comment about what do you do? Do you remember?
Well, the answer is this: get on board with the Davis March to Washington, and get aware of who and so on is in your area for politicians that are going to be up this election. What things are on the record for going up for voting? Seeing, especially a big one is the sheriff. If you have sheriffs in your area, be sure that you're paying attention to how they are. If they're a constitutional sheriff, if there's a multitude of things, because the sheriff is supposedly the last line of defense between us and the tyranny of government.
That's funny because the sheriff's department is the one that comes out with CPS.
Well, and that's the thing, and that's why you need to pay attention to who is your sheriff. And who you're electing in there, because that is an elected position. Same thing with governors in your states. If your states are up for governors and you have an elected judge post, you need to pay attention to who you're putting in for a governor, because that governor is going to be responsible for the judges that they elect. So there's a lot of things that can be done off the record, and none of it is speedy, which all of us want our kids back. Like we deserve to have our kids back. We didn't do anything to have our kids taken. And even if we did do something, it's not worthy of the death penalty, period.
My biggest thing is, how are these, foster parents / soon to be adopted parents in my situation, how are they really going to face the day that either they decide or they have actually told my youngest that, the real story, meaning, my son's going to want to know eventually. Number one, he's not going to look anything like him, but what are they going to do then? If they're going to keep it a secret his whole life, or if they are going to be open with them. I mean, when the truth finally comes out and maybe my child finally gets to pick the right way and hopefully never want to talk to these people another day in their life, I mean, is that really what they would want? I mean, that's the part I don't understand is where do these people really think they're going to get at the end of the day? Do they really think that they're just never going to tell them the truth? Or that's the part I don't really ever understand. Do they think they're really going to live happily ever after?
There's not enough studies out yet that's been done for this, like not enough to see how they react. Now, we had a friend of ours that was older in his life, and he found out he was adopted, and he was destroyed. Like his parents should never have told him that he was adopted because he felt like his whole life was a lie.
Exactly. And then to find out the real truth about how like his parents and his siblings like were tortured every day and still probably to that day, that's the part that how do these people really go to bed at night knowing what they're really doing?
The family that I had, I wish I was adopted.
Mike
took the air right out of the studio.
But no, it's
jokes, buddy.
Heidi, Michigan is like one of the leading states for sex offenders and trafficking. Michigan is terrible. I grew up in northern lower Michigan, a small town called Charlevoix. But yeah, Michigan is just notorious for having sex offenders. So I can understand you have that many sex offenders within 5 miles of your house.
586 sex offenders within 5 miles of their house. Now, these people can get out of jail free and all of this stuff, but yeah, we can't save our kids because what? Because of why? Because my charges were dismissed. I can't be a dad anymore. I love being.
Well, no, another slap in my face too. In my case,
that's what I'm supposed to be.
Another slap in my face with my case is the paternal grandmother, my husband's mother, was trying to get all three of my kids in her care since my case opened. But because she lived in Bakersfield, basically out of county, and we all know what that means, the money follows the child, right? So they didn't want to ever take my children out of the county. But make a long story short, they gave her the ring around about how she had to get her house, approved, and she had to take all these foster parent classes. Make a long story short, when I'm at my CPR hearing and we decide to bring her on and put her on the stand and basically tell the whole courts that she's been trying to get my kids since day one. Now they used against her, of course, the bond that my child had with these foster parents was much stronger than, going with his paternal grandmother. But the point that I'm trying to make here is after my case was all said and done, she was all completely now approved to be a foster.
Oh, we lost Deidre.
Oh, Deidre, that's such a good point. Come back with that, Deidre.
But no, and I know your situation, Darren. You got family involved, and so does Deidre. But and taking into consideration family, and I hold foster parents, the actual, no name foster parents, equally as responsible as CPS. Because if there were no foster parents, then they wouldn't have anywhere to put these kids.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a foster parent. There's a actual set of foster parents that live right up the street from me, and they've constantly got
a real set, huh, Mike? They got the real sets right up the street.
Yeah, they've got 5 or 6 kids every week up there. I mean, it's really amazing. I mean, those kids, yeah, that's Heidi again, right there out of Michigan. Out of Ypsilanti, which is University of Michigan.
She runs an in-home gay care. I am on high alert. CPS came and took 2 sisters out of her care due to her older sibling accusing the mother of abuse. See, this is what's happening, people. Don't just call CPS to make a comment just because you're mad at someone, because this is what happens. You end up in a place that you don't ever want to be. This is torture. Absolute pure hell every day of being alive. For the first time in my life, I don't even look to tomorrow. I used to always be about planning, like this weekend and this and that. I don't even know what tomorrow I'm going to be doing because my kid's gone, man. Like all I do is fight for her. And I don't, we have our older daughter and it's just as much hell on her, but like, there's no more, we don't do family stuff. We don't, they take your soul from you. This isn't just, just like losing a kitten out of a litter of kittens. This is your child, man. It's sickening. It's disgusting. And the fact that these people will do these jobs and take these jobs like this, Look, I used to have one of the grossest jobs in the world. I'm a bio-recovery technician. I clean up crime scenes and suicides. That's my job. Now, that's a disgusting, gory job, but that's the job that needs to be done and should be done, and it's done correctly, and it's put back into, it helps out in many, many facets. What a social worker does is just destroys your house. They really do.
They destroy your soul.
Really
they take your soul. They
Um,
take your life. I mean, they destroy it. They pit husband against wife, wife against husband.
They lie.
They lie. They deceive, just to cause that dissension between the family. I mean,
Yep.
and yeah, okay, you know, if you listen to their stories, and you believe what they say, oh, our job is here to make sure you get your daughter back. But their job is also to lose your wife and your husband, you know, because they don't want
Yep.
you together. They don't want you to stay together, regardless of the allegations, true, false, or in between. You know, they don't care. They just want that family completely destroyed. And I really believe this. People, stop posting pictures of your babies on the internet, because I believe that CPS sees these babies and they go, oh, well, that won't be easy to adopt out. And they come for them.
Yeah. Miss G would talk about that. She would say that CPS actually, they go out and they actually look for certain children, and then they will put them into their system, because people would either pre-order babies or, you know, do these type of things, and they would go out and look for them, you know. And that leads to the other thing. These social workers are not your friends. So stop treating them like they are. They are not your friends. They will turn on you like a rabid dog. And that's their game plan. Their entire game plan is just that. You can't allow them to get into your head, into your house, or into your child's heart, because any one of those things, if they enter it, you're going to lose. And that's when you need to call 888-888-6582 and talk to Vincent Davis. But hopefully it's not too late. Hopefully you haven't screwed it up too much. You know, it's just.
Aaron, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yep, you're in there.
Okay,
Hey,
so
Deidre.
I'm on my other phone that supposedly doesn't think that virtual background exists, but anyways,
Okay.
hopefully my internet's better on this one. What I was going to say though, real quick, is your family that has your child. Do you mind sharing who exactly the relationship is to you that has your
Yep.
daughter?
No. Yep. My cousins.
Like your first
Yeah,
cousin?
we have nothing. Yep. That's
Okay,
the only family I have.
Deidre,
Okay, yeah, so it's kind of like,
Grace is saying, turn on your camera.
I know, but I really don't want to for certain reasons. Is that okay?
For personal reasons. That's okay.
Yeah, please. So real quick though, what I'm trying to make my point here is, so if anybody knows my story, like you both do, my mom has my two older kids. Well, literally, the only thing keeping her now is the fact that she's needing to sell her house. Well, my kids have had a really rough week, which kind of led to me having a rough week, because they let me know yesterday, or when I saw them last Wednesday, right? No, that was 2 days ago, that my mom put her house up for sale today, the 15th. And based off of where my mom lives in Orange County, California, and the way that her house has, you know, a lot of improvements done, and it's a prime area, we all know that it's going to go very quickly, which means my kids are going to be now gone from me out of state very quickly. And
Right.
my mom has told me all along throughout my case, even way back when it was still open, I would tell her that basically you're the one preventing me from getting my kids back, because you're talking too much and you're not on my team and all this kind of stuff. And
Yep.
she never wanted to admit to it. She would always tell me, I don't want your kids. I've already raised my own kids and all this kind of stuff, right? Well, the truth came to the point the other day. My mom took my kids to Vegas last weekend for, you know, my brother's soon-to-be baby shower. He's having a second kid. Make a long story short, my son was going to sleep that night in Vegas and overheard my mom talk to my sister and say something along the lines of, you know, these kids are telling me that they don't want to move to Vegas, and I don't know what to do, but we need to basically figure something out to convince them that that's what they need to do, is move to Vegas. And this is my 11-year-old overhearing this and telling me this the other day, in the point where I've never seen my child so distraught. Like, I think he's realizing that it's all becoming a reality, and his own mother and father that has basically been telling him all along that, you know, no, You guys are going to come home. You're going to come home. You know, you're not going to move. You're going to come home.
Yeah.
He's not realizing that, Mom, I don't think that's going to happen now. And
Yep.
not only is it scaring the you know what's out of me, because yeah, hello, but for him now to see it, I mean, I'm like, talk about really don't know what to do or not to look to the next day.
You can't be a mother. You can't be the mother you want to be to them now. You want to be
it's disgusting.
Consoling
No, I
them
couldn't even still be the mother right now. My mom has so much control over me. I literally have to almost beg her just to simply talk to my kids on the phone at night. And the majority of the time, she just simply ignores me. And that's, I think, the worst part of it. I'd rather her tell me no or be mean in that way, but to actually ignore somebody, I think that's more like hurtful because they just don't even want to give you the time of day.
I can
That's how
relate.
much
I
they
can
don't care
relate to
about
you,
you.
Deidre, because my ex-wife, like I said, DSS has legal custody over my daughter, but they gave physical custody to my wife, and my wife does the same thing to me. You know, she makes me jump through hoops to even talk to my daughter.
It's disgusting though, because at the end of the day, the only person that is really suffering is the children. I mean, my mom told my kids that if you ever want to talk to your mother, just basically tell me. You can use my cell phone and call your mother, right? So I would always kind of use that against them in a joking way, like, how can you guys never call mom? And so finally, they told me that the truth of that too the other day. Mom, you know what? It's probably something you don't want to hear, and it's probably bad news, and that's why we don't like telling you this. And I'm like, what, you guys? Like, I never want you not to be able to tell me something. Well, you see, Mom, we always ask Grandma, you know, if we can call you, but her response is, no, you know, I don't got time for that right now. Like, you know, and always will give an excuse. Meaning, why does it have to have time from her for them to be able to talk to me? It's just, you know, they just are realizing that everything she tried to portray in the beginning, as far as like, oh, you know, it's your mom and your dad, they're the bad people, you know, they don't get their stuff together. No, they're old enough now to start to see the true colors. And that's the sad part, that we can't rescue them out of the situation.
And see, and the bad thing is, as soon as somebody's feelings get hurt, all the bad stuff comes out.
Oh, the bad stuff has already come out.
Yeah, Darren and his wife were absolutely amazing because, I mean, and same thing with Ariel and Nick. I mean, Ariel and Nick, they're talking about having to they're separating them in court. Ariel.
Well, that's what they tried to do to me.
Yeah.
They literally told my kids that I'm choosing my husband over my kids because if I left my husband, I would get my kids back home. I wasn't stupid enough to fall for that one because I already knew that wasn't going to be the situation.
Yeah.
But that's what they told my kids to the very last day.
You and the Saint are just amazing. I mean, and Darren and his wife are amazing. Now, me and my wife, I thought we were amazing, but you know, we let
He's the millennial.
Yeah, that's but we let DSS separate us. And I mean, I guess we weren't strong enough. It drives me nuts. Now, and Ariel, Nick, to answer your question, or if it was a question, yeah, your attorney's going to separate you. You want to know why? Because that's their job. Their job is to separate you, divide and conquer. So they're going to put you against him. Just remember, through this whole process, they're going to do everything they can, and they will lie, deceive, and play you against him and him against you. So
that you'll both go so crazy and off the end of the world, because really that's what they want us to do. It's just to disappear. That's really what they want us to do.
You'll get mad at Nick. You'll get mad at Nick, and Nick, you'll get mad at Ariel, and you guys will end up fighting. And well, I got news for you. If you end up fighting, and if you can't put that to rest and stop that, you guys are going to end up having a broken home. You're going to be like me and my wife, you know, because we couldn't stop it. Once DSS got involved, I mean, I bought into their BS. She bought into their BS. You know, I was fighting them, and she was being their, excuse the expression, wet dream. She was being their, you know, the CPS good child, and I was the CPS bad child. And well,
and the sad part too is, I feel like at the end of the day, honestly, and I'd put this on everything now, and I never would ever think I would say this about my own mother, but the sick part of it all is she has gotten too used to and now has relied upon the amount of money that she gets every month for them, to the point where I almost want to just tell her, if you give me my kids back, you could even keep the money. That's how bad I just really want to tell her. I mean, it's really gotten to that point. It really has, because that's the only reason why she wants them. She never spends time with them. She drops them off at school at 8 o'clock in the morning. When they get out of school, she sends them to Boys and Girls Club till 6 o'clock at night. There's 10 hours a day, 5 days a week. By the time she picks them up, they barely have time to eat dinner, take a shower, and then they're in bed by 8. Now tell me how that's a life to live when they have 2 parents that want them home every day and want to pick them up when school gets out at 2 o'clock, not no 6 o'clock, wants to put them in extracurricular activities, wants to let them have neighborhood kids to play with, but no, she's giving them the better life because she takes them to church on Sunday, but then is the one cutting someone off in the parking lot as she leaves church. I mean, she's the biggest hypocrite. And I hate talking so bad about my mother because I was not really like raised in that demeanor, but it's the truth, and it's really sad because at the end of the day,
they call that covert narcissist. That is a covert narcissist. In other words, everything on the outside looks wonderful, but everything behind closed doors is ugly.
She's miserable with her third husband of her life, She hates her life. But you know what? She wants to point the finger at me and tell me I needed to leave my husband of almost 14 years now, the father of my 3 kids, that had some obstacles to go throughout our life. But you know what? Who doesn't? But isn't what marriage is all about, meaning death till you part? I mean, where does it say in the Bible about, divorce and all this kind of stuff that she wants to portray? But then again, when it comes to her pointing the finger, she can never do wrong. But, everything that I supposedly do, I can't do anything right. But you know what? My kids want their mother. Like where do I want? I don't even think that I have a mother anymore. Honest to God. If I died tomorrow, I don't even know how long it would take for her to even find out, number one. Number two, I'm going to say one more thing and get off my rant because I'm going too much. But just to tie this up, because it made me think about it, my mom told me about a year and a half ago when my case was kind of freshly open, she took a life insurance policy out on me and needed me to sign the paperwork so that basically if something happened to me, she would have money for the kids. Meaning if I died tomorrow, she's a beneficiary, would get $100,000. Now, who's to say that would be spent on my kids? But I mean, in the way, I almost looked at my husband and said, wait a minute here. As much as it makes me feel a little bit more rest assured, because yes, you should be doing that on your own for your kids. I feel like now she's going to hire a hitman and have me killed so that she can get the money. I mean, it's kind of just so sick in a way, but it's just family. You want them there in situations like this, but when they turn against you, that's, I think, even more hurtful to have to deal with every day, to not have your kids, but then not have your family and them keeping your kids from you.
Yeah, but Suzanne Green Atkins, Miss Atkins, and her husband, they tried to split them up too. That's what I was trying to tell Ariel and Nick. I don't know what your situation is or what state you're in, but y'all have to, I mean, if you're going to stick together, you have to settle. Any and all arguments with yourselves. Don't keep any secrets from each other. Share everything. Don't let them build any animosity between you at all. I mean, at all, because it's ugly after that sets in. And I let it set in. I ain't gonna lie. I let it set in. I blame my wife for everything. And of course she blames me for everything. Which is,
you want to know what Mr. Davis said though, Mike, in this kind of situation? Because when I did find him, of course, I was approaching my TPR like everybody else usually is, like, oh shit, it's actually really going to happen. Like they're really going to keep my kids from me. So of course I'm contacting him, like for real. I'm contacting him like, okay, what is, the retainer and what's this? And basically when I kind of told him my situation in a nutshell about how they told me if I leave my husband, my kids will come home. As much as I didn't want to hear it, and as much as my husband didn't want to hear it, if I would have really hired him in a way he told me, number one, you're going to both have to separate. Because like he always says, they're playing chess, you're playing checkers. You have to play the game and act like you're one step ahead of them, meaning, yeah, okay, you guys separate, so to speak. He lives there, you live there. And legit actually do it. Like, don't try and think you can do it undercover or whatever because you'll get caught. But anyways, you do that. You live it the rough way. You do everything you have to do. You have Mr. Davis on your case, so hopefully, you will win at the end of the day. But then he says, fast forward, let's say a year or two after your case then closes, you then move back in together and live happily ever after. But what he's trying to say is sometimes you have to technically play their game, if that makes sense. And if that's what they're saying you have to do in a way, and your attorney is saying, yeah, okay, well then shoot, you guys just need to separate then. Not like you can't get back together down the road.
That requires a very strong relationship. That requires a very strong relationship.
Of course.
If your relationship's on the rocks anyways, then that's not something that's going to work. I mean,
well, no. But see, me and my husband were never on the rocks. That's what I mean. We just didn't actually want to separate because we weren't ever wanting to separate. But he was trying to tell me, separate to get your kids back, if that makes sense. Right. and get back
Well,
together
I
once you
mean,
get your kids back.
from a man that was told multiple times by multiple people, go along to get along.
Exactly.
Get along to go along. I mean, they basically
Yep.
just said, do what they tell you to do when they tell you to do it. If they say
Yes, that's
jump,
what I was
ask
trying to
how
say.
high. Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, I understand
So
what you're
what
saying.
Ariel was saying, in a way, like if they really are telling you that, like they were telling me, even though I didn't believe that it would happen, Mr. Davis was pretty much telling me if I were to have hired him, well, yeah, that's what you're going to have to then do. Meaning, Ariel, that's kind of like what my advice, I'm not an attorney, but my advice would be is if that's really what they're telling you to do, then you kind of have no other choice but to exhaust that avenue just to possibly see. Because if I remember right, your story is the one with your husband kind of lying about his counseling, right? And saying that your counselor like signed off on his paper or something like that. Meaning you didn't really do anything wrong is what I'm saying. So that's why it was so hard for you, because you knew that you were going to have to like kind of leave your husband in the dust because of his mistake, if I'm not mistaken. But that's why they probably want you guys to separate is what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Mr. Darren Guy is taking 9 time.
No, I'm not taking
Yeah.
that. I'm just
Good
thinking
night,
it's just
Darren.
disgusting. It makes you so sick to your stomach that they could, a country that the foundation and the building blocks is the family unit, togetherness, marriage, procreation, reproducing, all of that, and these people are simply just destructing our everything that we're built upon. They really are.
Darren, the first part of my question was really meant for you, though, and I then told my story. Like Mr. Davis says not to. So your cousin, though, did you guys have a good relationship before this happened?
We were great. We were like best friends.
Do you think it's the money then, or what suckered them in to keep your daughter from you?
Whatever went on, whatever was told to them, I have no idea what happened. We just all of a
Doesn't the
sudden
money
were friends.
die after they're adopted, though?
No.
So we don't know.
Oh, I thought the money.
No,
died.
see, my mom is the legal guardian because that's why she'll get the money continuously.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But that could even be cut off,
I don't
Mr.
know
Davis
what-
said.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I
I
think
don't
these
know. I
people
don't
are
know
being
anything that's
fooled and
going on
lied
there.
to. These families are being lied to about the money continuing after they either adopt or
Yeah.
take legal guardianship.
That's true.
And I know that all of a sudden they're sitting there going, "Where'd that money go?"
Yeah.
They have to be. I mean, that's just. I mean, I just don't see how they could just keep paying for that kid. I mean, I just don't see how that's even possible.
Right.
That's what
and
Mr.
happens to
Davis
your kid-
said. It's a shock.
So here's the
Yeah,
thing.
but
What happens to your kid? What happens to your kid when the money goes away?
they want your
Exactly.
kid to go away.
They want them to leave the house. Yeah.
And then we're nowhere to be found because they've now changed their last name on their birth certificate and made us be obsolete.
Yeah, they delete you.
Seems like they really thought this one through, didn't they?
Yeah, the foster parent literally told me on the last time that I saw my child, I had no problem asking and he had no problem telling me. I said, so I'm just wondering, are you going to change his name on the birth certificate? Oh, yeah, we're definitely changing his last name, but not his first name. No. But yeah, his last name, we will. And I think the look on my face was so like, I can't believe, number one, he just had no problem admitting that to me. But number two, I think I was literally just speechless. Like, and it's mainly because he thinks, or they think, that to this day, that I don't know what their last name is because they did try and keep it a secret all the way up to, but there was one paperwork, I think it was the de facto parent status when they filed that motion, that their attorney that they have now hired, meaning what do they need an attorney for, right? Well, because now they want to keep their son, right? But their attorney made the mistake of on that paperwork putting their last name. So I don't think they know that I know. But anyways, they think that they're going to change my son's last name on his certificate and then think that maybe that's the way I'll never be able to find him. I don't know. But like I said, my child is half black, half white. These people are blonde-haired, blue-eyed Mormons. And don't mistake the fact that they had another foster child right after him, a girl that's Hispanic, to follow, meaning not only are they both not looking like each other, but they both don't look like the parents. I mean, my child's not going to be that stupid.
Beautiful kids. I mean, your kids are beautiful. I mean, they're from the oldest to the youngest. Your kids are gorgeous.
And that's why it makes me so sick to think that they get to walk around every day and basically have this glory, like as if, it's their
like
child.
They did
And
something good, yeah.
And yet they want to make it seem like they literally had the balls to tell me at the end of the day when I was like really fighting in my TPR hearing, like really fighting, they basically said they kind of like wanted to give me a plea deal in a way. This is the way I looked at it. Because, that whole post-adoption agreement contract, if you ever get asked to do one, where you have a mediator, and basically this mediator is trying to have the biological parents and the soon-to-be adopted parents possibly come up with any kind of, so to speak, visitation plan or whatever after they get adopted, right? Well, Mr. Davis not only told me that is not even has any kind of uphold in court. It's basically bullshit, blowing smoke up your ass. I shouldn't be cussing, sorry. And it doesn't hold any merit, is what he's trying to tell you. So number one, it's just a waste of time and more of a tearjerker, because that's when we found out the true colors of these foster parents, because they told us that basically we'd be lucky if we got to see our child once a year, maybe on his birthday. And so that's when it all hit us right before the TPR. So anyways, we're in our TPR hearing, and they have their attorney come out to us and basically say, okay, we're willing to have you maybe see your child 2 or 3 times a year if you just basically sign over your rights right now and don't go forward with this TPR hearing. I'm like, are you kidding me? You're basically telling me to like just give up my child just because now maybe I might get to see him 1 or 2 more times a year? I don't think so. But the point of why I'm trying to tell this part of it is, what were we saying before that about the looks or something? I was going somewhere with this. I don't know. Now I missed my whole point. Oh, that frustrates me.
Well, while you're thinking about it, I'm gonna respond to Ariel and Nick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ariel and Nick, yeah, I understand, because I was the home taker. Button up shirt guy. What?
Mike.
How can I button up my shirt any further than that?
No, she's trying to address you. Like, who are you? What's your name? Yeah.
Mike.
Button up shirt guy. It's Mike Bartz. Yeah, there you go. But anyways, Ariel and Nick, I was the home giver, the caretaker. My wife was the breadwinner. She worked for the United States Postal Service. I mean, good job, good money. I had my brain surgery, so I was staying home recovering. I wasn't working. So when they separated us, or when they divided us as a family, yeah, my resources left too. I don't even have the resources to pay for the gas to put in my truck to go visit my daughter.
But Mike, tell Ariel what you did as a profession before that. Meaning, toot your own horn for a little bit. What was your profession?
Oh, I was an air traffic controller.
Yeah, so meaning you had a great job too. But
I had a great job as well, but once they took part of my brain out, I couldn't even talk.
No, I know, but yeah.
I mean, I can't do that job, and I had it set, but real life.
What if you would have stayed in your company and had the surgery? Could you have been qualified for like disability or something?
No, because it didn't happen while I was in the service, and it definitely didn't happen while I was in the government. It had nothing to do with any of that. It had to do with it was just a slow growth thing.
No, but that's what I mean. Like, let's just say you're still working your normal job, or was that your job while you were in the service?
That was my job in the service, but I was having 40 grand mal seizures a day. I mean, I couldn't hold a job for years. And my wife was my caretaker. I mean, she took care of me, and I decided to get the brain surgery because she got pregnant, which we didn't think she was going to be able to. Bless her heart. She had,
Ariel, when you get done there, I wanted to clear up what I was trying to say, because she said something about what I said.
I know you're
supposed she's trying to make it. She said, hold on, Deidre. I know you're supposed to do things accordingly, like Mr. Davis says about you perceive justice. Why is that a strategy for so many more families than just mine, to separate a mother and father and having a broken home for the kids to come home to? Make it make sense. Well, then you misunderstood me, Ariel, meaning that's exactly what they did to my case. They told me that me and my husband needed to separate. Yeah, so I think you maybe misunderstood me. I'm not trying to say that it's only for your situation. If anything, I'm trying to tell you that I'm now gone through it. I lost my child. I'm trying to prevent you and your husband from losing your child. So if anything, they told me and my husband to separate, I'd get my kids back. I'm trying to tell you that maybe you should listen and you might win. Where me and my husband, we didn't listen, and look where we ended up. And even Mr. Davis told me if I were to have hired him, he was going to tell me and my husband to listen to them.
Why
and
should
separate.
you have to break your family apart? When do they get to? Why
Because that's what they do. Exactly, but they get to
And
do
that's
whatever they
why-
want, Darren. We all know that.
And there we go. And there's the answer. That's why they get the authority, because everybody lays down, adjusts themselves.
Because we
to
all
what
know
CPS
that.
Because your
So
kids
that's
are
it,
on the
you know,
line, you
that's-
know, because they're going to weaponize your children against you.
Right. But
Exactly.
if you don't have mother and father, then you can't have a child, period.
Yep.
It takes two to make a child. If you can't have a mother and father together, then how do you have a child? It takes a mother.
And what are you
and a
showing the
father.
kids? What are you showing the
Exactly.
kids? Like, oh, okay, now you have to break up mom and dad. When here you should be telling them that no, your mom and dad are going to be strong together and like have a strong family household to come home to, and you know. Oh no, I'm saying the system. It doesn't make sense. I hear you. I know you were telling me because you have been. Oh yeah, of course. We all know that.
Let me tell
That's
Ariel.
why we're all
Let me
here
tell
today.
Ariel this. Let me tell Ariel this. Ariel and Nick, I don't know if you understand this, but you're dealing with CPS and DSS or DHS, whatever you want to call them. Nothing about this makes sense. Nothing about this makes sense. You might as well write that down, live it, love it, and just exist with it, because there's nothing that makes sense about any of this. Zero, 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 zero. Nothing. There's nothing that makes sense that they can come in and take your child and you can't shoot back. Nothing makes sense that they could go into court and lie on you, but you can't lie on them. There's nothing that makes sense that they can go in and give hearsay testimony, but you can't.
Mike, the scary part is, if I didn't have kids yet and I knew about CPS, it almost scares the you know what out of me, to where I might not even want to then have kids because of the fact of knowing that all it takes is someone to make a simple call and look what could happen. And now I understand why some people say, I don't even want to bring kids into this world because of the thought of this possibly happening. And until you experience it,
I'm moving to the Philippines with Grace. I'm moving to the Philippines with Grace. Grace, you're gonna have company. If I have another kid, we're coming, kid. I'll sleep on the floor, Grace. It doesn't matter to me any.
You already were going to. It's the Philippines.
Yeah, no kidding. I got a duck to walk through their doors.
Yeah.
Well, I think our show is pretty much kind of over in a way.
Yeah, show's over is right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Derek took a nice nap. He's stretching.
To anybody out there, you're fighting CPS or DSS or DHS, whatever you want to call them. This does not make sense.
Grace says you're okay to sleep in her garage.
Wait, what? What'd you say?
But none of this makes sense. But none of it makes sense. It's designed to confuse you. It's designed to separate you. It's designed to make you suffer. It's not designed to help you. It's not designed to be there for you. It's a confusion. It's part of their game. It's what they do.
Mm-hmm. So don't.
Sorry, Ariel, but you got to deal with it.
Grace, cue the music.
Get us out of here, Grace.
Decide to exit too soon.
There's Deidre. She's back now.
Got a little excited there on the exit button.
Well, you did, didn't you?
The hell. I'm waiting. We're waiting for Grace to cue the music.
Oh, she's gonna put music on now?
Yep, watch this.
I thought Mike was gonna have an ending for us.
He did.
Grace says, "Is it done?"
She says it's done. What does that mean? Bye.
Bye, Grace.
No, she said, "Is it done?" Bye.
Bye, Grace.
Cue the music, Grace.
I think she's telling us to just sign off. Screw the music.
There's the music. We'll talk to y'all later. Deidre, be good, girl.
Bye, Deidre.
Bye, Deidre.